It's time for the first Superman and Superboy adventure on Dinosaur Island. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations in the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. If you're just now joining us, Superman's son has become Superboy officially, and being Superboy gives you certain advantages, such as when John needed to make a flying saucer for his science project, he had access to the Fortress of Solitude. That sounds like a good idea, until whatever he used in the fortress flew around into the sky, assimilating the crystals of the fortress. Then, in a crack of light, Clark and John found themselves on an island, with crashed boats all in front of them. Superman looks to see John's science project flying off on its own, and he grabs his son so that they can chase it. But as they begin to go out into the sea, a giant fish jumps out, grabbing them. It swallows up Clark, and Krypto pulls John aside. Clark looks around inside of the fish, and he places his hands onto the heart of it. Immediately, the fish opens up and he flies out. He makes a wisecrack about having a heart-to-heart with the giant fish. But now they quickly discover that their way home has left them behind, and it's time for Clark to figure out what's going on, because he looks around to see that the boats have been split in half, and something threw a Sherman tank around on the island. John starts to look around and he finds a Japanese Zero plane and then the corpse of the pilot. But that's when Clark figures it out. Somehow, they've been transported to a mysterious island in the Pacific. He tells John to grab on so that he can fly straight up and figure out where they are. But as he flies higher and higher, he realizes that he can't see or hear anything in the clouds above the island. Then, out of nowhere, dinosaurs attack him. John falls off his back and a pterodactyl catches him, so he calls out for Krypto to go get John while he takes out some of these dinosaurs flying around them. As Clark is fighting them off, Krypto lands on the one that took John, and he starts to claw at him until another pterodactyl grabs him and starts to swallow him. So John begins to shout out, "You ate my dog!" Since John can't fly on his own, he jumps out of the first pterodactyl's mouth and he jumps over to the one that ate his dog, demanding that he let him go. As he begins to fall, punching the pterodactyl, he calls out, "I'm Superboy!" And he falls into the jungle down below, and just as he's about to crash land, Clark swoops in, rescuing his son. The pterodactyl crash lands right next to them, and Clark tells his son to get behind him. Then, the mouth props open, and there's Krypto barking at his owners. "What is with you and getting eaten all the time, boy?" And then John hugs his dog. They begin to explore the rest of the island, finding the dog tags of soldiers and then the graves. They climb the mountainside in front of them, and at the top they find a wooden leg and a machine gun, and then they walk inside. And Clark quickly glows his eyes, providing light in the room. And on the wall, he finds a message scrawled onto the rock: the story of the losers. Clark begins to read off their names. The losers. And John begins to ask, who are they? I have a feeling that it's whoever's underneath those battlefield grave markers that we saw in the jungle, son. And then the bullets begin to fly as a man without a leg demands they leave his cave. Clark swoops in, grabbing the man, and he carries him out of the cave while breaking the gun. After a little explanation as to what's going on, they learn that he is Captain Storm, and he's been on this island for years with the rest of the losers. He asks about the war, and Superman tells him that they won it, and it had nothing to do with people like him. It was the citizen soldiers and the losers that won it. Clark then asks for his help in finding the device that'll get them home. But Captain Storm asks for a favor first. He wants to get the bones of his last remaining comrade, and he wants to bring them to join the rest of their fallen friends. Captain Storm throws his hat on and he begins to lead the way. But Clark notices that John is hanging back, and he goes to check on his son, only to find him crying. "What if we can't go home, Dad? What if we can never see Mom again?" Clark takes his son's face in his hand, and he tells him that the way he acts, he sometimes forgets that John is only 10 years old. "I promise that we're going to find this thing and we're going to get home. And we're going to get yelled at by your mother. Do you believe me?" And John looks sadly up at his father. "I said, do you believe me?" Clark asks him with a smile. "Yeah, Dad, I do." So Clark rips down a tree branch and he carves up a gift for their new friend, a new wooden leg. Captain Storm thanks them, and then he calls down his pet pterodactyl and they ride it into the first location that he has in mind for the device. They arrive at a spot where a big white ape has made a throne out of destroyed planes, and John notices something right away. This ape has the same weird-looking eye as the octopus that they fought in the Arctic. The white ape points at them and all of the animals in the area begin to outright attack them. Captain Storm begins to open fire with his guns while Clark helps John use his heat vision. But when they get right up on the ape, he throws sea mines at them and then he leaps at them through the explosion. Clark drops his son and he calls out for Crypto to fetch, and the superdog grabs the young boy. But as Crypto is carrying him around, he tells his father that he found the device. Clark keeps swinging at the giant ape trying to figure it out when Captain Storm tells them that they got what they came for. Clark then rips the robotic eye out of the ape and he flies over to his son to smash the glass and take the device. It begins to glow, indicating that they're going to be returning home, and Clark tells the captain to grab his hand. He's coming with them. But Captain Storm goes down fighting, telling Superman that the things can't follow them back. He'll hold them here. He's one of the losers. They always stick together. And he says that with a grin. And just like that, Clark and John teleport back to their fortress. John asks if the whole thing was a dream, but Clark assures him that people don't share dreams. That happened. And he tells John that they're gonna find a way to go back there together and they're gonna save Captain Storm. And that concludes Escape from Dinosaur Island. Now, right now, guys, we're going to be doing these shorter stories because if you can't tell, my voice isn't fully back yet and I don't want to tax it and lose it again. But next up for the Superman storylines is when Superboy meets Damian Wayne, Batman's son. And that's going to be rather interesting. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this fun little side story where they fought dinosaurs. And I'll see you on Twitter at Comicstorian and Instagram at Comicstorian. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks again.